Rogers. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. It's a great pleasure to have with us Ellen Rogers, who's been in our district for many more years than most of us. Tonight she's going to present a workshop on the title Contest Training. So how can you be a good functionary in contest? She's been district director twice in the past. She's been a regional advisor. She's done almost everything. And tonight we'll have the honor and pleasure to share with her the experience that she has so that we can conduct a contest more successfully. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Ellen Rogers.
Thank you so much, PQD, Harry, and Azaris, and welcome everyone to contest training. It's great to see you all. We have, 25 people on here. A couple of days ago, we only had 4 people registered, and I was really worried that we were not going to be able to have a full house, but thank you all for coming. Tonight's session is a combination of contest rules, which as a chief judge for the district, I'm responsible for making sure that all of the contests are run according to the Toastmasters rules, but it also will include some procedures, because some of the procedures are based on the fact that we have these rules. So like I said, it will be a combination. Feel free to ask questions. I've allowed 2 hours for the session. It may not take 2 hours, so don't worry, but I want to allow time for you to answer the questions that you need, okay? So that you need to hear answers to your questions. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, but before I actually start sharing the screen, I just want to talk about contests. Why have contests? It allows members to grow beyond what Toastmasters offers in a regular meeting. And you'd be surprised that in my experience, you have new Toastmasters, and when you talk to them about a contest, they have no idea what you're talking about, and they're a little bit reluctant. But talk to them after the contest, regardless of whether or not they won, they really appreciate the experience. So there are people out there who want to compete, and there are some people who don't know that they want to compete. It's a growth experience. It's a learning experience, not only for those people who compete, but also for those of us who are involved in planning and organizing the contest. That's why we have the contest. But let me also talk about the rules, because some of you, especially if you're brand new in Toastmasters, and you say, why? Oh, there I am. I can see myself. Why do we have so many rules? If you look at the rule book, it's 29 pages of really small print. And you say, why? Why does Toastmaster have so many rules? Well, I've been around long enough to know that some of those rules are based on people doing things that they shouldn't do. But I think the main reason is that we have the International Speech Contest, which culminates in the World Champion of Public Speaking, which, by the way, I am heading off to Bahamas next week. I'm not bragging, but I will be there, and one of the highlights of the international convention is the World Champion of Public Speaking. And to me, when Toastmasters says this person is the World Champion of Public Speaking, they want to make sure that that individual is truly the World Champion of Public Speaking. And throughout every stage, that's club, area, division, district, and then it goes to the quarterfinal and the semifinal. Throughout every step, that the contest was run by rules that made the person who wins, they won fairly. Okay. That's the reason I think that we have all of these rules. So enough of me, let's get to what we are going to talk about tonight, which is, okay, I'm going to share my screen. So please just give me. Hopefully at the end of this session, you'll understand the benefits of speech contests. You know the roles and responsibilities for conducting a speech contest. We'll go over the rules and protocols. We'll also provide a listing of the materials that are required in order to conduct a contest. And throughout the session, also talked about some tips and best practices. Once again, I want to encourage you to ask questions. Anything that I talk about. First, I want to talk about the District 119 speech contest schedule. And I received this from PQD, Harry and Azaris, because if you're in District 119, you need to know what contests should you prepare for. Well, oops. Yeah, there is a schedule. All right. In the fall, I was told that we are going to have the table topics and humorous speech contests. So clubs are expected to conduct the table topics and humorous speech contests in September. Now, today is August 9th. So September is not that far away. Clubs can conduct their contests in person, online, or hybrid. For the area contests, they should be conducted in October. But those contests must be online. The division contest would be November. And once again, they would be online. And all of this culminates in the district contest, which will be in May. But I also asked, looking ahead, about the spring contest, which is the International Speech Contest will be held in the spring, and that's the only contest. Once again, the club contests are expected to be conducted in February of 2024, and those will be in person, online, or hybrid. The area contest would be March, and those are online. Division contest would be April, also online, culminating in the district contest, which will be held, I believe, in May, but it would be at the district conference. So make sure that you write down these dates. Actually, you'll be getting a copy of this presentation, as well as it will be recorded. So you'll have a chance to really see these dates. All right, here's my suggestion to everyone, whether or not you are a club officer, an area director, or division director, start now. Start now with planning the contest. It takes a long time, in my experience, to really get the contest going. And especially if you are a club officer and you're looking to do your club contest in September, then you need to start right now, start planning. But even area directors, you can start figuring out what date you're going to use for your contest. So here are the things that I'd like to suggest that you start now. Schedule the date and time for the contest. Absolutely crucial. Because once you have that date down, then everything falls into place, right? Appoint the contest chair and the chief judge. These are the two crucial individuals, and we'll talk about their roles later on. But if you're a vice president of education, appoint your contest chair and chief judge. Once again, we'll talk about the requirements for eligibility for those roles. And then definitely promote the contest. Okay. Promote, promote, promote. Let people know the date of the contest, what the contests are. Because you have a lot of, in some clubs, you have a lot of new members and they really don't know what these contests are about. So you have to spend some time encouraging, cajoling, volunteering them about the contest to get them involved in the contest. And then it's not too early also to download the required material. And all of the material is available on the district, not the district, but the Toastmasters International website. And hopefully maybe at some point in time, we'll put the links for this material on the District 119 website. In the old days, we had to order the material. Now it's available. Wonderful thing. James, I can't see the chat, so you let me know if there's anything.
Will do.
If there's anything that I need to be addressed. Okay. The two players in every contest chair. The contest chair is responsible for making sure that the contest runs smoothly. So of course, ideally you want to get someone that has run a contest before or that is willing to study and determine what needs to be done for the contest. Okay, and then the chief judge. The chief judge is responsible for making sure that the contest is conducted fairly and according to Toastmasters International rules. Okay, I see for those two other districts might be different. Emily, I'm not sure what you were talking about.
I was answering a question from someone earlier in the chat.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. Beatrice, you had your hand raised?
Yes, I just wanted to know, can one person be the contest chair and the chief judge?
I don't recommend it.
Okay.
You
Thank
mean
you.
at the club contest?
Yes, at the club contest.
Well, there's nothing that prohibits you at the club contest from doing that. But to me, there's so much work involved. I would not recommend it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I want to go to, all right, so let's first talk about the contest chair. And what I have on here is really not all that the contest chair does. Sort of taken what I think of some of the most important things. Determine the contestant eligibility. Okay, you're responsible for the contestants and making sure that they are eligible to be in the contest. Am I still on camera?
No, we can't see you.
You can't see, I don't know.
No.
Your picture is not there.
I'm not
We
sure.
don't see you. I'll try to help you.
I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, I will continue. Okay, checking the eligibility of the contestants, making sure that you have.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Making sure that you have their bios and that the contestants have signed the eligibility forms. Okay. contest chair also appoints the supporting contest personnel, because there are other people that are involved in running the contest. For example, sergeant at arms, an interviewer. If the contest is going to be online, make sure you have a Zoom master or two. Okay. Also responsible for obtaining contest materials. And I said before, all of the material that you need, including the contest rule book, is available online. I like to start collecting them early and downloading them early. Before the contest chair briefs the contestants on the rules and determines the speaking order. And of course, conduct the contents in accordance with the Toastmasters rules. And when it comes to the chief judge is responsible for selecting fair and impartial judges. So again, we'll talk about eligibility for judges later on. Checks the eligibility of the voting judge, the tie-breaking judges. Also, will appoint and train, distribute forms to the other contest officials, which include the timers and the counters. At the contest, the chief judge is responsible for sharing the rules with not only contestants, but other people in the room. Oversees the ballot counting and gives a report of the contestant winners to the contest chair at the end of the contest. I took this from the judge's certification of eligibility and code of ethics. This is the form that as a chief judge would send out to anyone that they want to have as a voting judge or a tie-breaking judge. And I just wanted you to see some of the eligibility requirements. Judges will actually sign this certification of eligibility, and it says that they are eligible and that they will follow the code of ethics by using the judge's ballot forms. Okay, so of course, to be a judge, a voting judge or tie-breaking judge or chief judge for that matter, must be a paid member in a club that is paid as dues, in a club that of course has at least 8 members. Okay. Outside of the club contests in the area and division and district contests, they must be a paid member for a minimum of 6 months. They must have completed a minimum of 6 speeches in the legacy system CC manual and earn certificates of completion or earn certificates of level of completion in pathways. So you want to make sure that the individuals that are serving as judges, that they have some experience. They understand, in a sense, what makes for a good speech. And that's the reason for having these requirements. Chief judge will make sure that the judges meets these requirements, and that the judges will sign that says, yes, I met these requirements. This talks also about the international speech contest regional finals, which we are not really going to talk about at this point, but it was there on the form. But I just want to get down to number 4. Judges for contests beyond club level are not eligible to compete in the same contest type during the same contest cycle. So for example, if you are a judge in your club contest, club table topics contest, okay, when you get above the club contest, you're not eligible to compete in that in the same contest, in that contest cycle. Questions? Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I did see for the district and area that the person needs to be a paid member for a minimum of 6 months.
Mhm.
Can that be someone from a different club or a different area, or they can only be in that area and division?
Oh, no. No, it can be from a different area. As a matter of fact, it'd be great if you could get people from other areas or other districts for that matter.
Okay, awesome. Understood. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for the question. Okay. How many contest judges do you need? And this is always very difficult. As a chief judge, trying to find judges is very, very difficult. That's why I said start now. Okay. For the club contest, you need 5 judges, 1 tie-breaking judge, 2 counters, and 2 timers. Now you notice under the voting judge, it says, unless impractical. Sometimes for the club contest, you're not able to get 5 judges. And Toastmaster recognizes that that might be a difficulty for you. They said you should try to get five judges, but if it's not practical, I mean, I have, not proud of it, but I've had to sometimes run a contest with 3 judges at the club level and 1 tie-breaking judge. It's not ideal. You try to get 5 if possible. But when it gets to the area contest, now you are required to have at least 5 or an equal number of judges from each of the clubs in your area. And 1 tie-breaking judge and 2 counters and 2 timers. At the division level contest, 7 judges are required. That's the minimum. It doesn't mean that you can't have more judges, but at least 7 judges or equal number of judges from each area. Again, 1 tie-breaking judge, 2 counters, and 2 timers. When we get to the district level, at least 7 judges, 1 from, and definitely have 1 from each division, at least. At the district contest, I would suggest you have even more than 7. It's an opportunity to bring in other judges. 1 tie-breaking judge and 3 counters and 2 timers. So I just put this chart together because I thought it's just an easy way for you to understand the requirements. It is in the contest rule book, which is sometimes very difficult to read. Any questions? Either I'm doing a really good job of explaining this or you're befuddled. I'm hoping it's the former.
Harry, do you have a question?
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Elaine, excuse me, there is a
Yes.
question in the chat.
Okay.
Functionaries, must the functionaries be from the same district?
No, not at all. I think it's great if you can get people from other districts. As a matter of fact, what's great is if you have a functionary, let's say an area director from another district, perhaps what you can do is reciprocate. Then you can switch. No, maybe you can help that area director out by getting some judges from your area.
Elaine, I'm sorry, there's another question in the chat. I
Yes,
think you answered this. Does the required number of judges include tie-breaking judges? I believe you indicated that for a club level, it was 5 judges plus a tie-breaking judge. That's
yes, it does not include the tie-breaking judge. And when we talk about, by the way, the tie-breaking judge, you want to get someone that is knowledgeable. I like to get someone that, has been around for a while. If I can, I'll try to tap into maybe a past division director, past district governor, okay, or district director. I'm sorry, district director. Because a tie-breaking judge is someone that they pretty much should know what they're doing. They're responsible. Their form is different than the judge's ballot for the voting judges. They're required to rank all of the contestants. And that tie-breaking judge is known only to the chief judge. And there was something else I was going to say about it. Oh, they are not usually involved in the briefing. That's why I said this is somebody that knows basically what they're doing. So does that answer the question? Okay. Speech contest rule book, the ultimate resource for contest issues. This is the Bible. It's updated every year. It has pretty much everything that you need to know about a contest, and probably we're afraid to ask.
Elaine, I have a question. Someone did
Yes.
ask me something. I'd like to address this.
Sure.
On the club level, if there are 5 judges, how would there be a tie? I understand there is a tie-breaking judge. So there was a little bit of confusion. Would you be able to clarify that, please?
But how they would be a tie?
Correct.
Well, you could have 2, let's see, you could have, yeah, it's not very likely that you're going to have a tie. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a situation where you could have a tie, but I actually had a tie.
Excuse me.
With an uneven, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you could have a 2, 2, and 1. Let's say you have 3 people competing. Two people get 2 judges vote for one person, 2 vote for another, and then there's a tie, right?
Yeah, and thank you for that, because I know that I've had situations where there's been a tie, and it has been because we've had, an even number of judges. It depends on the way the judges vote. So 2 of them could, yeah, you're right, 2, 2, and 1. Talked about the resources, and that these are all available from the TI website, which I think is wonderful, because you get an opportunity to look at the forms themselves, and you don't have to struggle with trying to find it. So for all, there's a notification of contest winner, which is used by the chief judge to notify the contest winners, the contest chair, but also can be used to pass on to the next level of contest. And the results form, the voting and tie-breaking judges eligibility, we talked about that, the code of ethics that you want to have the judges sign. Counters tally, the timer's record, and then the contest chair would have the contestants sign the speaker's certification of eligibility and originality. And we'll talk about the eligibility and originality later on, but every contestant is required to sign this form. And you also have the contestant speech contest profile. And by the way, this speaker's certification of eligibility is for all contests. so that includes table topics, and if you have evaluation contests, that's also required. And the speech contest profile, you're getting information because usually this information is used by the interviewer to ask some interview questions.
Excuse me, Elaine, there is a question in the chat.
Uh-huh.
If someone asked her to be able to get a copy of your presentation, if possible, on a PDF somewhere?
Well, it's going to be available. I will get it to you. Right. Yes, I will put it in a PDF form and send it to you, James.
Okay, that sounds good. And I can send it to the list.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Elaine.
Now for the, I'm focusing in on the humorous speech contest and the table topics contest, because those are the ones that we will have for the fall. So these are the forms that you would need for the voting judges and the tie-breaking judges. I think for each of these contests, if you look on the Toastmaster, and I have the item number, but if you look on the Toastmasters International website, you will find that they usually have a kit which has all the material that you need, which is nice because it has the judges' ballot form, it has the contestants' certificates, it has the timers, record sheet, and the ballot counter. So it usually is done as a kit. It's great if you can do it that way, download the entire kit. And for the table topics contest, you can need the voting judges form and the tie-breaking judges form. And then the voting judges form is different than the tie-breaking judges form. As I said before, for the tie-breaking judge, you have the tie-breaking judge would rank all of the contestants, whereas the voting judge will only put the three contestants, the first, the second, and the third, if there are three. Okay, for judges to be eligible to, I'm sorry, this is the contestant eligibility. Okay, to be eligible to compete in an official Toastmasters contest, a member must be a paid member of the club. Right? For the area contest, I'm sorry, for the club contest, let me start with that first. Since we're talking about the club contest for the fall being in September, then most likely this is not an issue. Members are paid up through September 30th, hopefully. And if they took advantage of the $45 discount, then they're paid up through March of 2024. But anyway, there must be a paid member of the club, so that the contest chair is responsible for verifying that. The club must be in good standing. That it means that the dues must have been paid to world headquarters, and the club has 8 or more members. That's what the club in good standing means. Okay. This eligibility must be maintained at all club levels. And here it gets a little bit tricky. For example, someone might have been paid up through September 30th, but if when we do the area contests in October, that individual has not paid their dues starting October 1st, then they're no longer eligible, even though they were eligible when the club contest was held. So area directors and division directors, you need to check that you can't assume that the person was eligible at the club level, therefore they're still eligible, meaning that they have paid their dues. It must not be a current district officer, an immediate past district officer, or candidate for district office. There's a lot more ineligibility, and I said that's why I say refer to pages 6 and 7 in the contest rule books, because it talks about people in the international level. There is a lot more, but this is the basic eligibility for contestants. Timers, 2 timers appointed by the chief judge. If you look at the contest rule book, it's funny, it's still, I think it's written for in-person contest. So it says 1 timer will display the signaling device, that is the cards or background if you're online. And well, that works when you're in person because you have the timers in the front of the room and one has the timing device, whether it's the phone or stopwatch. And then you have the other one showing the timing device or the cards. Okay? Obviously, if you're online, both timers will have timing devices, but only one will have the signals, which is the backgrounds for green, yellow, and red. Okay. As a chief judge, I like to get reports from both timers. I like both timers, regardless of the platform. Want them both to time the contest, just in case there is some sort of malfunction, I should say, of a device. Or sometimes you'd be surprised. I mean, in my career, I have had a situation where one timer had the contestant as 7 minutes and 30 seconds. The other timer had the same contestant at 7 minutes and 31 seconds. You know, in this case, you give the contestant the benefit of the doubt. So we use the 7 minutes and 30 seconds. But if you only used one report, let's say you used a report for the timer that had 7 minutes and 31 seconds, then that person would be disqualified. So just again, to make sure that it is fair. Timers must be in full view of the contestants, which they should be able to see the contestants. And of course, if you're in person, that means the timer is basically in the front of the room so that they are in view of the contestants. If it's online, it's a little bit different. We ask the contestants, the contest chair asks the contestant to pin the timer so that they always can see the timer. And also we ask the timer to raise a virtual hand so that the timer would be at the top of the screen, the contestant screen, if necessary. Okay. Questions? Okay, moving forward. Okay, let's more on timing. Table topics is 1 to 2 minutes, just like it is in the club. Okay. Disqualification in terms of timing will occur if the table topics contestant speaks for less than 1 minute or more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If they speak for 2 minutes and 31 seconds, they're automatically disqualified. And the humorous speech contest is 5 to 7 minutes. Again, disqualification occurs if the contestant speaks for less than 4 minutes and 30 seconds, or more than 7 minutes and 30 seconds. And it's the same with the international speech contest. Okay. I do want to talk about online contests, because when we're online, of course, there's always the chance that during a contest, a contestant might have some technical difficulties. I've seen contestants, they just lost it completely, they didn't lose it, they lost connection completely. And so there are rules that are connected, excuse me, with what happens if there's a technical failure. And I want to make sure that the district officers keep me honest on this to make sure that what I'm saying is correct. Okay. If in a speech contest, and that's the humorous speech or the international speech contest, okay, the contestant has a technical failure and they lose connection, they have 5 minutes to reconnect. If 5 minutes pass and if they're within the 5 minutes, they're able to reconnect, what they will do is the contest chair will let them know where they ended. I mean, because they will continue their speech from where they ended. Okay. This is a situation where the timers are critical because a timer needs to make sure that they keep track of how far the contestant has come in the contest. And then the other timer will time the 5 minutes. Let me just say that again, just to make sure that, okay, you have one timer has stopped the clock because the contestant lost connection. So let's say the person's at 4 minutes, the clock has stopped. The other timer then would time the 5 minutes, meaning that's the amount of time that the contestant has to reconnect. If for some reason or other, hopefully not, the contestant is not able to reconnect within the 5 minute time limit, then wherever that contestant is in terms of time, okay, if they have spoken for at least 4 minutes and 30 seconds, the judges will judge that contestant based on what they've heard so far. Okay. If, on the other hand, the person has spoken for less than 4 minutes and 30 seconds, then the contestant is disqualified. I know we're doing a lot of contests online, so it's really important that you understand this. At least this is what we do in District 119. Okay. For table topics, however, if the contestant gets disconnected, loses connection, then they must reconnect before the time limit expires. The time limit for the contest expires. And if they're not able to reconnect, then if they've spoken for 1 minute or more, the judges will judge where they are, what they've spoken about at that point. But if it's less than 1 minute, then the contestant is disqualified. Clear? Okay. It's really important that you understand this because it does happen. Okay. And so general, excuse me, let me stop at this point. Any questions so far or any questions in the chat?
I have not seen anything in the chat.
Okay, then I will proceed. Table topics, rules and procedures in general. The general rules apply, that is, that the person must have paid the dues and the club must have paid their dues to International. Okay. The time is 1 to 2 minutes. All contestants receive the same question. And by the way, the table topics questions should be of a general nature. It means that it should not be a question that requires any kind of special knowledge. When the contest begins, and of course, the contest chair will have determined the order of the contestants speaking. Now, the first contestant will remain in the room, but all of the other contestants will be escorted to a separate room if it's physical, or to a breakout room if it's online. The contest chair then will give the contestant's name, the table topics question, repeat the table topics question, and give the contestant's name. And that's all that the contest chair will say.
Pardon me, Elaine, there was a
Yes.
question in the chat.
Okay.
From Sherry Raves.
Mhm.
How do you assure that the person reading the table topics question reads it exactly the same way each time, both volume and clarity?
How do you, I'm sorry, did you say how do you determine that?
How do you make sure that the person reading the table topics question reads it the exact same way each time for each contestant with both
Well,
volume and clarity?
yeah, you know, when your table topics contest chair, I like to actually read the question word for word so that you don't make any mistake. I don't know how you would make sure, but if you're a chief judge and you heard that the contest chair didn't read the table topics question the same, either for different contestant or they didn't read it exactly the same, I would intervene and ask them to do it. They need to do it exactly the same. So read it, okay, word for word. Does that make sense, Sherry?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And here's an important thing. Contestants must not use digital devices. Years ago, this may not have been an issue, but for example, you have the contestants going into a separate room, whether it's in person or virtual. You make sure that those contestants do not have a digital device. Now, I know that this sounds crazy, but, oh, I lost my video again. It may sound crazy, but the reason the Toastmaster says is because whenever they put a rule in place, it's usually because something happened at a contest, which means that you have a table topics contestant, they're off in a separate room, they have the cell phone, they have a friend in the main room that sends them the table topics questions. Now, I know none of you would do that. However, just to make sure that it does not happen, you make sure that when the contestant goes into that separate room, that they do not have any digital devices. This is the age we're living in, folks. For the humorous speech contest, again, the general eligibility rules apply. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, and here the contestant must have written their own speech. It must be substantially original. There's a maximum of 25% of the speech can come from other sources that where they're quoting someone else. Okay, and of course, if they are quoting someone else, they must state where they got the source. There is another rule which says that they cannot refer to another contestant's speech. For the humorous speech, it must be a speech. It must be thematic in nature. So it should have an opening, a body, and a conclusion. It's not a monologue or a series of one-liners, because that is not a speech. And of course, it should avoid objectionable language and material. And of course, the judges would take that into consideration when they're determining the winners. For the international speech contests, even though we are not dealing with that in the fall, and we probably will have a contest training session closer to the spring. General eligibility rules apply. The contestant must have completed levels 1 and 2 in pathways or have a DTM. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. And once again, the speech must be written by the contestant and be substantially original. Maximum of 25% of the speech may be taken from other sources. I didn't talk about protests, but if protests can be lodged by any judge or another contestant on the basis of eligibility or originality. Okay, those are the only things that we can have a protest about, in which case that's lodged with the contest chair or the chief judge. Basically, what happens if there is a protest lodged, then the chief judge will call all of the judges into a separate room and they will discuss the protest and then the vote on how to proceed, whether or not they think it's valid or not. For the international speech contest, the winner of the district contest then proceed to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the final levels at the international convention. Whereas the other contest, the table topics contest and the humorous speech contest, the district level is the last level for that contest, for those
Excuse
contests.
me. There is a question
Yes.
in the chat.
Mhm.
Can a chief judge or contest chair lodge a protest as well?
It says, the rule book says contestants and judges. I will have to check on that. But from my knowledge, I would say no.
I do have a question. Is
Yes.
it possible that an audience member who is watching the contest, can they launch a protest?
Nope. Even if you know that that speech has been taken word for word from somebody else, no, only contestants and judges. Any other questions? I do believe that the chief judge can be able, I will have to check on that. Okay. All right, this is dealing with the online contest, which again, a lot of the contests will be held online. Okay. And therefore you definitely need to start as soon as possible. Identify someone that is savvy with Zoom or any other platform that you're going to use. So you choose which platform that you're using and the settings, and that the contest chair is responsible for that. Of course, test the platform and settings. If it's hybrid, you select the technology that you're going to be using. And hybrid is really tough. It's very tough trying to have a contest with contestants in person and some online. Okay. So you need the preparation. Run a mock contest. Absolutely necessary to make sure that things go smoothly, because you want to make sure that the contestants are not sidetracked by some sort of technical problems. Okay. Appoint supporting roles, that is contest chair and the chief judge. We already talked about that. Thoroughly brief the contest officials. Train the timers, conduct a contestants briefing, which we already know about, and conduct an A/B check and set the speaking area for the online contest. I took this directly from an online hybrid contest best practices from the Toastmasters International website. So I think that that's really good for you to read if you are going to conduct an online or hybrid contest, because it has a lot of tips and tricks. Okay. Oh. All right. So let's go through. That's the questions. How many voting judges should you have for the club contest? I want to see if you're listening.
Emily posted in the chat 5. And so
Yes.
did Amanda.
Okay, 5. All right, good. And the area contest?
5.
How about division?
Check out the division.
That's just saying
7.
7.
7.
7.
And the district?
7.
7. Okay.
Seven.
These are minimum, by the way. These are minimum number of judges. Okay, thank you so much. And who's responsible for recruiting contest judges?
Chief Judge,
Yeah, great. How about the sergeants at arms?
the contest chair.
And that's plural. I'm contest chair. Who's smart? Get somebody smart. How about the timers?
I think the contest chair. Other than the judges, is
The timers? The timers? That's a chief judge.
Ah,
Okay, it's good. And how about the contest interviewer?
I believe that's also chief judge.
no.
The interviewer, that's a contest chair.
Contest chair, yes.
Okay, that's the end of my presentation, but I'll take any questions that you have.
If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand and I'll actually unmute you.
It looks like Michael has a question.
Okay, Michael.
Michael, you're unmuted.
Okay.
Yes, Michael? We can't hear you.
There
How
you
about
go.
now?
Yes.
Yes,
Now
we
we're
can.
good?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
yes, now we can hear you. Yes,
Sorry about that. I hate Zoom.
no
I
problem.
hate I hate technology. It's a nasty it's a nasty necessity. For the humorous speeches,
Mhm.
at one time I heard that they couldn't be anecdotal, so you can't tell a story about something that took place in your life or whatever. Or is that something, or is that just a misconception that I just created in my head?
No, of course you can talk about things in your life. It just, all they say is that it must be a speech. So it should have, you can take a story from your life. You can take a story from anywhere. It must have
Right.
an opening and a body
Right.
and a conclusion.
Okay. But so you could just take your own life experience and just create a speech out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Your life experience is probably, not your particularly, but maybe funnier
Thank you.
than.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you for the question. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Okay. I'd like to point out potential conflicts of interest. Once when I was an area governor, a club asked me to be present at their contest, and I saw that contestant was husband and judge was wife. So, and they didn't even notice it until I pointed them out to them. Do you feel comfortable with that? So really, the organizers of the contest have to be a little bit careful with these things. It may slip them without even realizing.
Yeah, sometimes they don't, sometimes people don't realize it. And when way back when I was an area governor, I had recruited judges for the contest, and one judge did not show up. So I saw another area director. She was governor at the time, and I knew that she was in the same club as one of the contestants, but I figured, oh, she is an area governor. She knows how to be impartial. Well, she wasn't. She did not. She rated her contestant. She rated that person number 1. And it really skewed the contest. So as much as possible, try to make it, well, it's not as much as possible. It's a rule that for a judge, they must not be in the same club as a contestant. Okay, except for, yeah, obviously, except for the club contest. I saw some questions. Let me go back. Somebody was asking about getting judges for your club contest. Try look outside of your club. Look at some of the people when you go to different events. Ask people if they will be a judge in your contest, because especially if you're a small club, I understand it is extremely difficult to get judges. Okay, I'm not seeing the whole scheme of things. Humor speech contests. Is there a question? Sorry.
There is a question in the chat. It says, are the prizes? If so, what are they? And I know that in the rule book, there is a section that does speak to this, but if you'd like to elaborate, that'd be great.
Prizes for the humor speech contest?
I'm going to say it doesn't specify if it's for the humorous or for table topics. I think it's just with regards to the contest itself.
Oh, okay. Well, the prizes would be certificates for first, second, and third. If the club, for example, has money, they can also order trophies for the contest, if that's what you mean in terms of prizes. And it's nice to do, but definitely, of course, when you get to the area and division and the district, then contestants will be expecting the prizes would be trophies. A rubber chicken. Okay. We're going to have trophies. Wonderful. I love it. There's nothing like having a trophy. Other questions?
There's a comment in the chat that says the district is preparing to have trophies for the area, division, and district levels this year, but I believe that would be presented at the district level.
Yes, of course, assuming you can afford it, but we are thinking really at the conference next year, perhaps at the mid-year, but most likely at the conference next year, to have some trophies for area division.
Oh, that's great. People like to have a trophy or
Yes.
something besides the paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's nice. It's nice. I have a trophy. I still have my trophy for winning the table topics, the district table topics contest way back. So I put my email address in the chat in case you come up with any questions, later on, something that I didn't cover, or you have some questions, feel free to contact me.
There is something that Marcia mentioned. I think this is pretty beneficial. She
Mm.
humbly suggests, and this is for everybody, to put your contact, since we're all here for contest training, and then we'll come away with a better understanding of how to do the contest. Maybe we can put our contact information in the chat so we can all help each other around contest time by being functionaries. I think it's beneficial because working enough contests, because you understand the roles, it's easier to help out.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said, if you see some folks on here that ask them to be in your contest. So Sherry is giving her information. Oh, all right. I love it. Thank you, Marcia, for that suggestion.
Okay. Also, one suggestion I have is you mentioned the number of functions that we have, but usually, or not usually, sometimes people may cancel at the very last moment. So whatever number you want to have, if possible, have twice as many, because people cancel at the last moment.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
Harry,
thumbs up.
I think that I think that's nice. I've heard you say that before, but I personally, it's hard getting even the required number, but to get twice as many, you know, a nice idea, Harry. I'm not sure that it's practical. All right,
Well,
so thank you
At least
all.
aim.
I know, Harry. People will cancel out at the last minute. I know I've had that, but I like the fact that individuals are putting their email in the chat, which basically they're saying, hey, listen, I'm willing to help out in your contest. And of course, it's reciprocal. To send the chat to the participants.
I could arrange that.
Yeah,
What I'll do is, once we stop the chat, what I could do is I could attach the chat to the email. This way everybody has a record of it. And I won't BCC everybody. I'll include everybody in the email.
yeah. Anybody who's left their email, it means that they want to be contacted. So that's great. Thank you, James.
And someone did ask about the recording. I'm working on that.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, and by excuse me, by the way, I'd like to thank James for helping out with this. This wouldn't have been possible without him. And of course, our PQD, Harry and Azaris. Thank you both.
Great job, Elaine.
Elaine, thank you very much.
Applause for you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You did a
Elaine,
great
thank
job.
you very much for sharing the experience with us.
Mhm. Okay, and like I said, I'm sure that probably we'll have. We didn't have it this time as a particular judges training, because it's always good for judges to know, to go through the form and know, what's the criteria for judging, which is different than evaluation. So maybe sometime again in the future that we'll have a judges training program. So. All right,
Thank you,
I
everyone.
am yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine. It was
Mhm.
great.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends. Great to meet everyone.
And thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Have a good
Bye.
night. Bye.
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 Thank
Good
you.
evening.